Welcome to Match Fishing Masterclass. You join me today at the gorgeous Barston Lakes near Solihull, and we're going to be testing the Preston Innovations Distance Master 100 gram 4 metre feeder rod. And there you go. First fish. My initial reaction is look at that action. Absolutely stunning. Really through action rod. The top piece actually seems really soft. But the middle, you can feel where that power is in the middle of that rod. Really, really nice. It's kiting round to the right now. Now it's under the net. Like I was saying, just that the first section of this rod's really, really soft, but loads of power in that middle section. So that's telling me you can literally use this rod for basically anything. That top section is going to allow you to catch small roach skimmers without bumping them off. But that middle section, especially this butt section here, has got absolutely tons of power in. Nice fish, about 8 or 9 pound. What a lovely start. Let's get him back. Starting off at the back of the rod, we've got an extended butt handle. And what this is for is to enable your left hand to have that leverage when you're casting. Because with distance casting, you're not really doing anything with your right hand apart from guiding the rod and giving it a slight push. All the power comes in your left hand when you grip the bottom of the rod. Talking about gripping the bottom of the rod, we've got a protruding, or the size changes, for instance, where you grip the rod, it's got like, it feels like a circle in your hand, or a ball, should I say. So when you grab it, it gives you something to grip hold of. And the finish is finished in neoprene. So 3/4 of the butt is finished in neoprene, the rest is a traditional cork. Okay, moving up the neoprene handle, we've got a flat piece here, and this is to basically put your forearm on. Really, really nice. I've always used rods with this section on. Preston have not long incorporated this into their rods, and I absolutely love it. The reel seat looks really nice, finished off again in the neoprene, and it's got gloss black reel seat. Moving up to the graphics of the rod. This is the one thing that actually sells the rod more than anything. So initially, when you first get onto the glossy black finish, you've got the Preston logo just above the reel seat itself, and then we've got a lovely blue fading into that gloss black again, finished off with the Distance Master logo, the fancy writing. You've got the DM and then the carbon active. That's Preston's top carbon that they use. One thing with this finish that I would have liked is a carbon finish. I do like a carbon finish, however, Preston are known for their gloss black finishes. Moving up then, we've just got decals here saying it's the 4 metre 100 gram. Also underneath you've got exactly the same 13 foot 4 metre Distance Master casting weight 100 gram. So whilst we're talking about casting weights, I think I've got a number of different distance rods, and the casting weight is just a guide. So every rod that I've got has got a sweet spot with the weight. What I find is it's normally about 2/3 of the casting weight. So this rod, I think the sweet spot, although we haven't put it through its paces properly yet, I think the sweet spot will be around 60 grams, but we'll see a bit later on once we get going with the rod. Okay, moving up to the eyes. It's got oversized guides. They look really quality, and they're not too thick, so the weight of the rod is kept down to a minimum. Moving up, the guides are all oversized right the way up to the tip. So the tip, the reason these are oversized is to enable you to use shock leaders. So a lot of distance fishing, people use shock leaders. I'm not using one today just because of the main line that I'm using. I'm just using straight through 020 main line, but it is a really strong one. It's £10. The tips supplied with the rod are a 2 ounce, 3 ounce and 4 ounce, and all these tips have all got oversized guides on, so you can use shock leaders with all these tips. That's about it for the rod itself, and let's chuck out, try and get another fish. Just before I cast out, I'll just talk you through the process. Now I'm at 70 metres, I'm not actually going to have that short of a drop. I want it quite long because I don't want the feeder to go too high what happens when you wind the feeder up to the tip, so there's not as long a drop, it'll fire the feeder high and long, but because of the power in this rod, I'm going to keep a longish drop in the rod about 1.3 metres there, I think, not quite 1.5 metres, but we're going to stick with that now, and I think that's the optimum drop to get that nice like projectile on the feeder. So let's give it a try. As we move further out, we will shorten that drop. As you can see, not a massive. I didn't have to overforce that then, it was really easy. So far I'm really impressed. But we're only at 70 metres, and casting 70 metres, I wouldn't say that's distance master territory. So we'll have one more cast here, and then we'll start creeping out. We'll go 80 and 90 metres and see how we get on there. Whilst we're waiting for our next bite, I'll just talk you through how I'm actually going to test this rod today. So we just had that beautiful fish, and we kicked off at 70 metres. I don't think, with a rod like this, with the price of £250, 70 metres should be capable for pretty much anyone, really. The rod's obviously built to a really high standard, using really good materials. So kicked off at 70 metres, I've just put it on my measuring sticks, and I've put 3 clips on. I've put 70, 80 and 90. So that first cast was at 70 metres, and it achieved that really, really easy actually. It actually bounced off the clip to the point of it felt like a bad cast. But what I'm going to do, I'm a massive advocate of just the old school method feeder. I do use the newer ones, the ICS version from Preston, but I also understand that hybrid distance style feeders are very, very popular these days. So as we creep out to the further distances, 90, maybe, depending on how we feel at 90 metres, we might go even further, and we will test it out with these kind of feeders just to see if the distances change. So if I'm fishing at 90 metres and I feel like I'm just on the edge of what I'm capable, I'll maybe swap to one of these hybrids and just see if it makes it that bit easier for me. Well, that's what we're going to do. The setup itself, as I said earlier, we're just using 020 mainline. We've got a nice big reel on just to enable that line to peel off the reel quicker, just to try and achieve that bit further distance. I want to give the rod a fair chance, so I want to set it up properly. So the main line's 020, £10, running down to a 45 gram method feeder at the moment, with a 4-inch hook length of 019, just down to a size 12 hook, and it's just finished off with a 7mm Wowser, using orange at the moment. But I'm not too bothered about the tactics today. Although we do need to get it right to catch the fish, I'm just going to try and concentrate on testing this rod. Bending all the way down into the middle butt. One thing a lot of companies I feel get wrong with distance rods is they don't think about the actual fish playing action. It's all about the casting, and I think you can't. Yeah, you have got to lose some of the fish playing action, but you still need to be able to catch these smaller fish. I don't know whether that's an F1 or a bream. pulling a bit now. It's got to be an F1. Yeah, an F1. And that rod, like I said, is proper bent over with that. Let's have a look at him. Little orange wires will come out in the net. Lovely. Barston F1. So we've had a carp and an F1 so far. I think what we'll do now is take the clip off and go out to 80 metres. We mentioned earlier that this rod's got oversized guides to help with casting. Although it has got oversized guides, what's important when you're selecting a distance rod is to look where the guides are placed on the rod. So you don't want the first guide any closer than 50 centimetres to the reel, because on rods like this you're using bigger spools, bigger reels. When the line comes off the reel, the coil on the line is going to be bigger. So you want to enable that line to straighten up before it gets to the first rod ring, if that makes sense. With smaller rods and use smaller spools, the spools are only small, so the line will stay pretty much straight. And that is one of the most important things to look for in a distance rod. Number one, because it'll stop tangles at the spool itself, because if the line can't come off the reel quick enough, then it'll bird's nest on the spool. And then moving up the rod, you want to, that's been in 5 minutes now, but moving up the rod, you want to look at where the guides are spaced. You don't want too many on there, you want enough to keep the line straight going through the rod. And that's just my thoughts on the rod rings. Okay, so we've gone out to 80 metres now. All I've done was just take that first clip off at 70 metres. We've gone out to 80. Still using the 45 gram method feeder. And to be honest, again, I bounced it off the clip a little bit too hard, and it was actually effortless. As you've seen, I was sat down when I cast it. With a lot of rods, you will feel the need at like 80 metres. You won't feel the need to stand up to reach that distance. But that was absolutely effortless with a 45 gram ICS method. With it fully loaded, it's probably looking at about 52 grams. Wasn't struggling at all. I'm probably on. Oh, that's got to be on. Yeah, he's on. That was the first chuck. I was just about to say I'm probably going to only have one chuck here, but I am going to have another one now. Doesn't feel like a big fish, but as you can see, the rod, even this butt section is bending, but the first two sections are like really bent round. Feels like a carp. For a 13-foot feeder rod, I cannot believe just how soft the action is. Yet when you are loading it up to cast feeders, it just chucks them out absolutely effortless. I'm no self-proclaimed feeder angler, or another nice carp. Safely in the pan. I'm no self-proclaimed distance caster, but that rod chucks 80 metres absolutely effortlessly. Again, 7mm Wowser on the hook. Just try and hold the fish up for you. This one's lively. A lovely Barston carp. Let's get it back. Right, let's have one more chuck at 80. See if we can nick another quick one. And then I think we'll move to 90. What I can see happening is this rod's just going to keep wanting to go and go and go. I will admit I've never chucked over 90 metres, but I bounced that off the clip then, at 80 metres. So to go another 10 metres or 10 metres plus, I can't see being a problem. But we'll have a look. This time what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a chuck with a 50 gram hybrid feeder. Just to see if it feels any different. Right, and that's at 80 metres now. Again, rocketed off the clip, absolutely no problem at all. I can't understand how it chucks like 50 to 60 gram feeders so effortlessly, yet when you've got a fish on, it bends like an 11-foot rod would. A lot of distance rods, especially the ones I've got anyway, which let me tell you aren't cheap rods. All over £200, so they're in that higher end of the market, and none of them have got a playing action like that. I'll quickly talk you through just how I'm loading my method feeder. So I'm just getting small pinch of pellets, just putting them in the base of the mould. Just laying my wafter in, making sure it's central, and then just fill it up, pushing them pellets down, not too hard. I'm just making sure that I'm actually filling the mould. Just top it up. I'm just filling it to the brim. I'm not overloading it. And the reason for this is when my method goes in, I want it to hit the bottom. And if you've overloaded it, what will happen is the force of the pellets will blow your wafter off, or your wowser I'm using today. So you don't want to overload it. Dead simple. Making sure I'm squeezing it really hard. What will happen is you will get some spilling just over the edge. Just going to tidy that off, just at the sides. And then there you have it. A perfectly moulded method feeder. Once it's moulded, all I do, I put it back into the mould. And what this does, it just keeps the pellets nice and moist. Because this cast could be out 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes. Them pellets on the mould, what you've just put onto the feeder, will dry out. And when it hits the surface, it can knock the top off. So that just keeps them nice and moist. But yeah, we'll give this 10 minutes. We'll see if we can nick one at 80 metres. As we said earlier, this rod comes supplied with 3 carbon quiver tips. A 2 ounce, a 3 ounce and a 4 ounce. So again, with experience with feeder rods, I find that the medium of the tips, so if it was a 5 ounce, a 6 ounce and a 7 ounce, the medium of the tips would be the 6 ounce. However, on this rod you've got a 2 ounce, a 3 ounce and a 4 ounce. I find that the medium one, so the 3 ounce on this rod, is going to be best suited to this rod, so it's going to be at its best with a 3 ounce tipping. That's the one we've put in today, but you need to change your quiver tip to suit the conditions on the day. So if it's flat calm, you're not casting too far, and it's small species of fish that you're fishing for, you want to go for the lightest one. So I would select the 2 ounce. But if it's flat calm, you're going far and you're fishing for bigger fish, I would select the 3 ounce, just because it stiffens that rod up a bit more. You're not going to get any wrap overs on the tip, and when you are playing the fish, it's going to help with the action of the rod. And then vice versa with a small tip, we're going to go with a large tip. When the conditions are bad, you're going long and you're fishing for big fish, with the exception of if it's really towing. So if it's really towing and you're fishing for any kind of fish really, you don't want that tip locked up if you can help it. So you want to change your tip to suit that. But this tip I'm using today is the 3 ounce, and it's fishing absolutely perfect. Okay, so we've had 2 F1s, 2 carp and a skimmer. Done at that 80 metres now, far too easy for the rod. Took the clip off, and I'm going to move out to 90 metres. So this is pretty much where my limit stops, but hopefully we're going to be able to do it with this rod. So this time I'm going to have a shorter drop of like a metre, because what I need to happen is the cast to go high, which in turn means it's going to go long. So I'm still going to sit down, and if I struggle I'm going to then stand up. Oh. Absolutely breeze that. 90 metres. That's with that 45 gram method feeder. So that's probably about 52 grams. Luckily today, because that is quite far past the middle of the lake, that is. Luckily we've got no anglers opposite us, so we can go past the middle. Hopefully in the next hour or so no one goes there, because after throwing that 90 metres easy, I'm going to try and break 100 metres, which I've never done. Never have I chucked 100 metres with a feeder. So we'll give this 10 minutes, and then I want to chuck it with a 60 gram hybrid, just to see if I can see any difference. Is it easier with a hybrid? Is it harder? Is it the same? So I've just got one made up there. I'm going to put it upside down in my bowl of pellets, just again to keep that top layer moist. Okay, no bite on that chuck at 90 metres. Just going to reel in. Long way to reel back. I'm gonna have a chuck with that hybrid. Again, sat down, about a metre drop. Really pull with that left hand. That is unreal. Absolutely unreal. I'm not going to mess about. I'm going to have this one chuck now, then I'm going to go back to the sticks and go out to 100 metres. What I should have done really is sit on the other bank. I'm on peg 119 today at Barston, and this is a good area, up to 124 up there. This bank here is good. And what I'm doing now, I'm chucking out my peg into the other side of the lake. What I should have done is sat on the other bank and chucked into this peg, but just my luck, there'd probably be someone on it. Sunk the line now, and that tip's bent right round. It's locked out at the clip. Really did hit the clip quite hard. Absolutely blown away. Oh, that feels like a big fish. Feels like up to snag. Out at 90 metres. I was going to say 100 metres then. It's just got that 100 metres on my brain now. Look at the action of that rod. Fish just topped right underneath my rod tip. Ooh. That feels like a proper fish. Oh, he's come off. That was foul hooked. That rod is something else. Unreal. Absolutely blown away by that rod. But we'll have... Tell you what we'll do. Let's go for the 100 metres. There you go, that's 90 metres. Just going to take that clip off. $95, 100. There you go, 100 metres. Right, it's 100 metres clipped up. Straight away I'm going to put on a 60 gram hybrid. I'm going to try and do it sat down. Again, a metre drop. Ooh. Ooh. Hit the clip. I think that would be better with either that method or that 50 gram hybrid. Next chuck we're going to have a go with 50 gram hybrid. Because I think, like, we hit the clip then, but there was some slack line as I put the rod down. It was slack a bit. So that now it's rested. It's probably at about 99 metres. And 99 metres just simply isn't 100 metres. So we're going to put this 50 gram hybrid on. And I am going to have a go with the 45 gram method as well. Just had an indication there, but we're fishing that far out. Literally, there's probably thousands of fish between the tip and the where the feeder is. And there's a fish. First chuck at 100 metres. This feels like a skimmer. It's an awful long way to fish for these kind of fish though. It takes a while to bring them in. It's a long way to bring them back. It's a little skimmer. Lovely. This time, as I said, I'm going to swap to that. Actually, I'm going to swap to that method. 45 gram method. Because as I was saying earlier on, there's a sweet spot for a rod, which I find normally is about 2/3 of its casting weight. And that'll be when the rod is at its best. That's what I think anyway, for me personally. We'll see how we get on with this. Again, a metre drop. And there you go. What do I say to that? Absolutely brilliant. jumped in the car, got on the motorway and come around 50 miles east to a place called Staunton Harold. This is controlled by Barston Mutual Angling Club. Massive expanse of water, great big reservoir. And I think we can't give this rod a thumbs up until we've put it through its paces, doing a bit of natural fishing. Don't know what I've got on the end here, but feels like a nice fish. But the rod is performing absolutely lovely. Made a few changes to the setup and I'll just talk you through. The first thing we've done is change to braid. We've got a shock leader of £10 running down to a helicopter style rig. We've just got a 60cm hook length. Down to a size 12 hook. Finished off with a 40g cage feeder. I've just gone back to the sticks and I've sticked up at 70 and 80 metres. Because it's a distance rod, there's no point us casting to 40, 50 metres because we can do that with 11 and 12 foot rods. So I've gone straight in at 70 and 80 metres and I've just kicked off at 70 metres with a 40g cage feeder. And what we learned from Barston, that this rod has got a sweet spot of around 50 grams, 50 to 55 grams. So this feeder loaded will be around 50 grams. So I've started there, but I'm just gonna put a bit of bait in my ground bait and then cast out, and we'll just talk you through what I'm doing. Just putting 3 maggots on a size 12. Because we're at 70 metres and we know this rod's capable of 100 metres with a method feeder, I'm using quite a longish drop at the moment because the projectile of the feeder, I don't want it to go too high because we've got a side wind on. I don't want that massive bow in the line, so I'm going to have to give it a good chuck. But there you go. Just sink the line. And another thing I've done, because we've swapped from like a carp venue down to a natural venue, we're fishing for roach, perch, smaller species, so I've just swapped down to the 2-ounce tip. This is going to make the rod slightly tippier, so softer at the end, but we're still achieving them big distances really. 70 metres is a good way to chuck with a normal style cage feeder. I've got a 50g version here, and I've also got a window feeder. The window feed is 45g. And when we go to 80 metres in a little while, I might swap to the window feeder, depending on how the cage feeder is performing. But at the moment, I'm just going to stay on the cage feeder. Indication there. And there you go. It's a smaller fish that time, but as you can see, the rod is certainly the first two sections are bent up. But another good thing with a rod like this, when you've got the power, you've got a big reel on, you can spin the rod round so it's in front of you. Make sure you've got a nice bend still in it, and just reel. Because you've got the power in the rod, it will cope with this. As you can see there, the rod's still bent through the first and second section. And this rod's absolutely perfect for this. Skimmer. Popping back. So the main reason I've come to a venue like this, because if you're paying £250 for a rod, you don't want it to be a one-trick pony. There's absolutely loads of rods on the market that you could take to Barston and they would chuck 100 to 150 metres. You could use a carp spod rod if you wanted to, because when you've got a carp on the end, it will tow it round no matter what rod it is. However, with this kind of fishing, when you're fishing for 8-10 ounce skimmers, like we've just had there, or you're fishing for 14-15 pound carp, like we had at Barston, this rod seems like it can do it all. This 2 ounce tip is absolutely perfect for this. It's just slightly bending round and it's showing up even the smallest of bites. Whereas I think with that 3 ounce tip we had, I think if it was towing a lot, it's not too windy today, I think if we had a lot of tow on the lake, then that 3 ounce probably would have been better. But today this 2 ounce seems perfect. Okay, so we've pretty much confirmed that 70 metres with a cage feeder is no problem at all for this rod. And we've had another couple of nice bream. I've just unclipped now. See, it has gone a bit quiet at the moment. But a nice roach as well. But I've unclipped and we're going to go to 80 metres. I'm going to try this cage feeder first, just a 40 gram. I think this 40 gram feeder suits this rod lovely. But we have got a 50 gram one also. So if it was a bit windier, you probably need the 50 gram. Wouldn't go as far. What I found with feeder fishing, like I've been saying, is that sweet spot in a rod. So the sweet spot for this rod is about 55 grams, something like that. But if the wind gets up, what you'll find is you'll just need to go a bit heavier, but it won't go any further, if that makes sense. But here we go, 80 metres. Sat down. Don't really like standing up. Can get a bit further when you stood up, but I'd rather do it sat down. Nice short drop. Oh, a good whack. Never just clipped the clip. Just got there. So there's two options. Because it's deep water, it's still got to the spot. But you can swap to the winder feeder now, or we can just try and just push it. But in bad conditions, that probably would have struggled. And there's something on there. Oh, there's a fish on that. But straight away, that weren't sped up or anything, that footage. Let's have a look what it is. It's a little skimmer. Little skimmer, about 5 ounce. Maggots are still sound. So we'll give it one more go with that 40 gram feeder. This time I'll give it a good whack. Like I say, conditions are good for it today. Not too much wind. Nice short drop again. That'll do it. There you go. No problem at all with that. Bounced off the clip. What it was, with the last cast, it didn't go quite far enough back to really compress the rod. And also the drop between the tip and the feeder might not have been short enough. It's important when you are going long distance to get that short drop. That's 80 metres. Sat down, which is I don't know anywhere in the country where you'd fish further than 80 metres with a cage feeder, so this rod can certainly do that. What a fantastic time I've had testing that rod out. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Barston for letting us start the test there, and a big thank you to Burton Mutual for letting us use Staunton Harold to end the test. But that sums up the Distance Master feeder rod.